some of my very first jobs out of graduate school or even during graduate school really taught me that my angels were always protecting me, and that I was always covered. I had a tendency to kind of be in unsafe situations, scenarios. The population that I was working with from a very, very young age, it wasn't the safest. And it's not that I was like a daredevil and that working in dangerous neighborhoods or in treatment facilities for drug and alcohol intrigued me, but they kind of called me. Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello, hello, welcome back. I am so excited to begin speaking about something that I had so much fear and maybe even shame around in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journeys, and just life in general. I didn't really know how to talk about my spiritual gifts and how they came about and when I really began feeling into them and the journey of what that's been like for me and how influential that has been for me in my business, in my personal life, in motherhood, um, with my partner. Just it's really expanded across all platforms, my family. Um, and it was something that, coming from the traditional realm of clinical psychology, I learned about the mind and mental health through a clinical lens. I went to school to receive my master's in mental health counseling, and shortly after, I accrued enough hours working under a supervised clinician to give me my hours that I needed to take my licensure examination. And I got licensed as a licensed mental health counselor, right? That was, I don't know, all the way back in 2014, right? And so before going to school for psychology, I always knew that I had a knack for helping people. People used to always pour themselves onto me. They would always feel very comfortable with me, even at the young age of like 12, 13, 14. Adults would tell me their problems, and I would think nothing of it. It was so common for me, and that is the story of many healers, spiritual healers, many individuals that just naturally gravitate people to them in that manner. If that is you, you're most definitely a healer. And at a very young age, I knew that I was comfortable in that arena and that it really intrigued me to see people in that fashion and hold space for them. And I was curious about them, never judgmental, curious about why do they do that or how come they feel this way or anything of that sort. And so naturally, me being a very studious person, I thought that just meant like, oh, I'm meant to be a therapist. And I was for that certain chapter of my life, And so I took the traditional route, me loving academics and really, always striving to be on honor rolls or anything of that sort. School always kind of came easy to me. And education really fuels me till this day. Education really makes me feel powerful, makes me feel like I'm in the know, and makes me feel smart. And so, at a young age, I was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to school, I'm going to study psychology, and I'll get my master's so that I'm like really, really efficient in the realm of psychology. And that's what I did. So, some of my very first jobs out of graduate school or even during graduate school really taught me that my angels were always protecting me, and that I was always covered. I had a tendency to kind of be in unsafe situations, scenarios. The population that I was working with from a very, very young age, it wasn't the safest. And it's not that I was like a daredevil and that working in dangerous neighborhoods or in treatment facilities for drug and alcohol intrigued me, but they kind of called me. And I knew from a young age, this was like me back when I was like 22, 23, knowing that I could hold myself up in arenas like that without a problem. And that doesn't mean that I didn't have moments where I was terrified because I most definitely was. But I literally, from a very early start of my career, I always, and just in general, just my life, I always felt that there was this white light presence always over me, that I was going to be held and I was protected, right? And unknowingly, that is a huge part of spirituality, this knowingness that you're safe and you're protected, and God, spirit, universe is always watching over you, your ancestors, your spirit guides, all of that jazz. I'm all up into it, and even before I had names for it. And yeah, so I was oftentimes looked at as a leader at a very young age, even before my career. And people would look up to me, people would follow me, and people would feel safe around me to call the shots and be in leadership roles. And so, working at that facility for drug and alcohol abuse, there was a lot of inmates just coming out of prison and now on parole and falling back into drugs and alcohol and needing therapy, needing someone to help them. And as you can imagine, that was a very, very hard population for anyone to work in, let alone someone just beginning in their career of mental health. And I will never ever forget. I feel that God has always gifted me the perfect mentors at the perfect time. I'll never forget my supervisor at that time, Frank Vecchiano. He asked me, very intrigued, like, why do you want to work here? And I was like, what? I was interviewing for the internship. This was a staple for anyone who is getting their degree in social work or counseling of any type. You have to work somewhere for, God, I don't even remember. I think it was 2,000 hours to get enough hours under your belt to even be eligible to sit in the room to take your licensure examination, right? So um, it was a list that my school provided, and it was like, you could work here, you could work here, you could apply for this. And my heart was like, yeah, let's work in this treatment facility. Let's see what this is about. And Frank Vecchiano, my mentor or my supervisor at that time, he asked me, he was like, why do you want to work here? What is it about this job that intrigues you? And I told him, and then he was like, you do know that most individuals that are in this type of facility, they have many relapses. And so the he gently told me, like, the a young counselor's dream is to help people, and just know that in a place like this, while you are helping them, it doesn't look like that, because many clients are return clients because they continue to go back out into the real world and use drugs and then have to come back in again. So for someone who's, eager and ready to heal and help people, this could be very, not traumatizing per se, but just trying to think of a good word, a sense of defeat. It'll feel very defeating, especially for a young counselor. And me knowing my trajectory of all things that I've ever done in life, it's like, yeah, this is always where life leads me. Universe is always putting me in places that's like really challenging for the beginner newbie, and I'm always there to show up and excel and do all the things. And so in my head, I was like, bet, perfect. Like, let's do this. This is something that I've always been doing. Let's go ahead and do this. And so I took the challenge with open arms, and it was great. And even in those facilities, I was very much challenged because, I mean, you could have just imagined the type of energetic arena that I was in. A lot of angry individuals, a lot of angry, a lot of hurt, a lot of trauma, so much trauma within these adults that I was there to look into and talk and just hold space and learn more about this profession that I was going into. And so, how does spirituality come into that? There was there were so many times where not that I wanted to quit, but I was like, maybe this wasn't the right thing for me. And lo and behold, at the end of that internship, which lasted for a year, I ended up doing drama therapy with some of like the hardest, quote unquote, hardest like individuals that you would never think would act out their emotions, let alone be there's this thing that we call in this realm with populations like this that don't want therapy, which is called motivational interviewing, where you have to really be good at enticing your client to want to do the work. It's a completely different ballgame when you're working with a population of people that don't want to receive help and they're being forced to receive help versus a population where they're openly signing up for your services and openly wanting to work with you and receive help and do the work. And it's just a completely different ballgame. And it was the latter for me in that arena. And I was really, really good at helping them see the light, helping them want, or maybe it was my energy, maybe it was my angel surrounding me, helping them feel safe around me and entertain me, to be quite honest, of like, hey, let's do this thing. It's going to be really weird. You're not going to understand why we're doing it, but, I'm learning this thing in school and we're going to give it a shot, and I've always had a knack for kind of doing things like that, for just showing up and learning something the day prior and then just putting it into practice and seeing how it goes and it working out usually very, very well. And so that's what we did. And so much so that even the VP of the assistant director, he would oftentimes, his name was Stanley Edwards, he would often reach out to me and say like, in professional terms, but like, you're killing it. You're so young, you're so courageous, and this is a hard population to work with, and they love you, and you're always busy, you're always doing something, like you would never know that you're an intern in this facility. And that's just music to my ears. If you know me, I am someone who loves words of affirmation. It comes from a place of deep insecurity that I've now worked through, so I'm in a much better place now. But especially at that age, I never thought that anything that I did was ever enough. And so to hear that I was killing it and that I was so young and that I was really helping these people was like everything that I could ever ask for. So, even in moments like that, spirituality was present for me. It's just I didn't have the wording or the knowledge to know it to be so. This within me is a calling to help people. This is what I do best. It's what I do really well. It lights me up. It expands me in so many ways. It challenges me in so many ways. And so that was just the beginning, right? And so then, many jobs later, I ended up working for a school in Westchester, New York. Yes, Westchester, New York, that allowed me to work for a mental health treatment center, but I was one of the therapists that was placed directly in a school setting Monday through Friday. So, I work with a lot of children there, and my supervisor at the time, Shauna, love her so much till this day. We're not in contact as much as we used to be, but she is someone who holds such immense value in where I am today in my career, and she doesn't even know it. I'm definitely going to reach out to her after this, and hopefully she listens. And I just want her to receive her flowers because she's an amazing individual. And I say that because giving you guys insight as to how I worked in my early onset career within the field of psychotherapy. Um, I, I was often very insecure with my knowledge, wisdom, and expertise in the field that I was in at a very young age. Although it was very exciting and expansive for me to be so young and quote unquote killing it or being very good with people, I would be very insecure because I would feel like a fraud because I was in spaces where clinicians were practicing for 10, 20 years. And this was like year two for me. And they were so good with their words, they were so good with their psychological terms of what they were doing in session with their clients. And so, if you've ever worked in a facility like that, a hospital or a treatment center of any kind, you usually do like rounds or Monday meetings or weekly meetings where you discuss client progress. And it's meant to be to make sure that as a hospital or a clinic that we're staying on track and meeting our goals, and also to learn from one another as to like, hey, I'm having a really hard time with X client for X reasons. Have you ever dealt with anything like this? And if so, can you help me out or can you give me insight? And so when it came time for me to talk about my clients' progress and success, I would always have great things to say. Um, but the clinicians that were at that table were so to me, they felt very far beyond knowledgeable in the words that they were using to describe their sessions than I could ever. And truth be told, I always did really well in school, but it kind of was like in one ear out the other. Like I was really good at memorizing and spitting out what I memorized without sometimes fully comprehending what it was I was memorizing, which is a prime example why I won't get into this, but a prime example as to why traditional school settings are really not for everybody because I was a honor roll student, A student my entire life, but that didn't always mean that I knew what I was talking about. I was just a good memorizer of words. Anyway, all that to say, I have a love for psychology. So when it came to psychology, I actually did study and was immersed in what I was doing, but that wasn't the case for many of the other subjects. And anyway, all that to say, when I would be in those rooms and everybody would be discussing their case studies, I would feel very insecure of like, oh my God, they're talking about, I can't even, Adlerian theory, or X theory. And I'm like, I don't even remember that stuff from school. And I just graduated, let alone these people graduated years ago and they're talking about all these terms and things. And I'm like, damn, I really just sat there and listened to the person, helped them get through it. Like it made me diminish my spiritual gifts of a healer because I didn't have the word to describe what exactly it was that I was doing. And oh my God, it was like my biggest secret. Like I never wanted anyone to know how I really felt. So literally, I promise you, before those case study meetings that we had once a week, I would be in my clinical books from school and reviewing things from, theoretic class 101 or whatever may have you to just remind myself of like, oh, I am using Adlerian theory. Oh, I am using cognitive behavioral, therapy. Oh, yes, I am doing that. I would be doing those things naturally, not knowing that there was a word for them, that there was a word for that thing that I was doing, right? So it would be a thing of like, who am I going to present today? Oh, okay, I did X, Y, and Z with them. Let me find this in the book. Oh, okay, in the book it says that this is called blank, blank, blank. And I would literally show up to those sessions prepared in that manner because I was like, I don't know how to say what it is that I'm doing. And that is till this day, honestly, I often struggle with that. And it's been this beautiful journey of embracing that I simply just know. And I don't say that in a pompous way. It's a very grounding knowingness within me that this is my purpose. But I also have learned in my roads of entrepreneurship that sometimes isn't enough. Not that what I'm not doing is enough, because what I'm doing is grand, but that's not enough for me to communicate that I just know because I know to the masses. And so I have to now, in a more structured and confident way, do my due diligence of explaining how I do what I do because people want to know, and rightfully so, that they deserve to know what it is that I do, right? And so at that time, Shauna, my most definite mentor at that time, I remember she was a director of something, I can't really recall. She was a very, very important person in that clinic, and she had love for me and I had love for her, and she oftentimes she mentored me and she supervised me, and I know that she was very busy and she didn't have to do that, so I always took those sessions with great pride and great honor, and I love being a good student, a good mentee. And so I would take advantage of those times and I would write notes like crazy, and I would take every single word that she was saying as like, oh God, I got to do all these things, and she's so motivating and inspiring and she's so cool. And I've always loved my mentors to be like that. Anywho, so definitely I was fangirling girling over her. And she taught me so much more about the field of psychology and people and how to be a better clinician, all the things. So much so that when I was finally more comfortable with her, I let her know my deepest insecurity of like, I literally, and excuse my French, I think I said it to her in this way too. I was like, my biggest insecurity is that I literally don't know how I do what I do in sessions, and I am pulling things out of my ass all the time. Is literally what I told her. And I remember her telling me, and this was the first time someone has ever affirmed to me my spiritual gifts. And she was like, "Oh no, Jalissa, like you're not taking things out of your ass." She was like, "You have a gift. You have a gift of helping people, and you just have to harness that in a little bit more." Right? Like be more professional about it if you may. Not that I wasn't, but in what I was talking about before, having confidence that I am really good at what I do. And I do need the words to back it up. Right. And so, my God, was that like weight off my shoulders? I was, first of all the shame and guilt that I've been carrying now released because I not only said it out loud, I said it to the director of the facility. Right. So, if anyone needed to know the truth, it would be her. And she accepted me for it. And in fact, she embraced it for me. And then, I even had more love for her then. And it just really began to it made me be even more confident in the room with my clients of like, oh, I got this in the bag because this is my innate gift. I am here to help people so much more than just the schooling that I learned, right? So much deeper than that.
Do you ever get tired of talking and talking around in circles and never truly alleviating the problem long term? To retell my story time and time again. I'm tired. I'm tired of letting somebody in once again. I'm tired of having them have to understand my story once again, only for me to get to the point deep, deep, deep down inside of things I already know. Things I've worked on for years healing. I've done my part. I've done the assignments. I've done the talking. I've committed to therapy. I've even graduated from therapy from time to time. And yes, talking about it has helped. It has helped me tremendously. But at some point, we get down to the root of the cause. I'm still suffering symptomatically from the aftermath of those experiences. Perhaps you've been going to therapy for some time now, and you may have even graduated, quote unquote, have seen your therapist less and less, and then something comes back up in the mix, and you find yourself going back to therapy regularly. There's actually nothing wrong with that. That is usually the trajectory of someone's healing journey. What if I was here to tell you that there's another way to heal? That talking about our issues is only half the game. That the other half of our healing energetically and physically needs to happen within the body somatically. Talking can only do so much, which is why I'm so excited to present to you guys one-to-one elevation somatic coaching. Let's get to a place of embodiment, working within the body to alleviate the stressors and past traumas that still hold an effect on us today symptomatically. Get out of your mind and into the body, into a place of rest and relaxation, or rest and digest as we like to call it. I ensure that we do the somatic work first before we dive into therapeutic coaching. Join us as we go through 6 months of transformative healing. Let's embark on your somatic journey. Let's break free of your limiting negative beliefs. Let's embrace the self-love and set boundaries. Let's bring harmony to the mind, body, and soul and elevate with spiritual rituals and manifestation. Ready to step into a life of resiliency, clarity, and abundance? Visit our website, www.julisaedwards.com, to learn more and embark on a transformative journey. Break free from the chains of emotional instability and self-doubt, and embrace the pleasure of inner peace, self-love, and empowerment. Once again, that's www.julissa edwardscounseling.com.
Fast forward a little bit, many jobs later. I've worked in every job under the sun when it comes to psychotherapy. Many jobs later, I end up moving to North Carolina from New York, and I work for a private practice for like a year and a half or so, and then I opened up my own business, which is now Julissa Edwards Counseling, right? And so, um, in doing so, God, universe, aligned me with spiritual mentors, spiritual business coaches that were all about business and also all about spirituality. And it was just, aligned stars that I was attracted to them enough to invest greatly. And if I spoke about the power of investing in the last solo episode that I did. So if you want to look into that, I talk about how much money I've invested in all the things because I wanted to be very frank and open about like I am where I'm at right now in business because I have put money where my mouth is, 1000%, and I've showed up for it. So if you want to listen to that, you can do so in a prior episode. But yes, I hired my first business coach, and she was hella spiritual. And she was teaching me about energetics and feminine and masculine energies and the power of like even journaling. Like she really made change the game of journaling for me as more than just like a cognitive restructured thing that we do, but really an honoring, sorry, not an honoring, really a ceremonial practice to connect with spirit and to connect with our highest selves. Like it was everything. She introduced crystals to me, all the things, and it was just like, what is this world? What is this world? Um, like this was so new to me, and so for me, new things excite me. That's led me into trouble in the past, but new things excite me, and for me, what I'm really good at doing is understanding different. mm, Not theologies, different theories of things and understanding how they're all talking about the same thing. They're just a slightly different perspective, a different way of saying it, but it's all the same. Even like when we talk about religion, like at the core of all religions, like we're going after the same thing and we're just describing it differently. And so that's why I really don't. To me, spirituality, universe, God, quote unquote witches, like prayer. To me, it's all the same thing. Manifestation, like it's literally all the same thing. It's just like, okay, how did you grow up and how did you learn about it this way? And so in being introduced into the spirit realm in that way was really exciting for me. And I began a simple manifestation practice of like opening up a slot on my calendar while I still had a full-time job for my own personal one-to-one clients. And my first business coach taught me that you have to create space for the universe to bless you. And if you're creating space for clients, then you have to have the systems ready to receive that client. So, for example, at that very beginner stage of entrepreneurship for me, that was just the simplicity of having a link for people to actually book you, having set time aside on your calendar of when you were going to take your own personal one-to-one clients and not someone hop on a call with you and they're like, I'm available on Thursdays, and you're like, I'll move things around so I can see you on Thursday. It's like, hey, no, I'm actually open for business on Tuesday evenings from X time to X time. Just having just you're trying to run a business, yes or no? So like, how are you going to energetically be that CEO even when it's just that one client? And so, things like that, just teaching me the energetics of like, you do this and the universe will respond, and you best believe the universe did respond. And so I had to make sure that I had a link ready to go and a way for them to pay me professionally, not just like Cash at me or like Zelle me. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've helped many entrepreneurs in the beginnings of their journeys, and they get their beginnings how they get it, but giving the universe clear sign that like I'm serious about this and I'm showing up in X manner so that you can bless me abundantly. And lo and behold, shortly, after I did that, I did receive my first one-to-one client, and it was the best thing ever. And then, continuing my journey with other mentors who were even more spiritually conscious and all the things. And as I kept getting higher and higher in the realm of spirituality and learning of spirituality, um, it literally became less about business. And even though I was learning hella stuff about business, but it became less about business and more about spirit and my dharma and my purpose and evoking that out of me by doing spiritual practices and routines that would really align me, ground me, and center me during those times. In my time of mentorship, I got pregnant. I think I spoke about this in the last solo call. If not, I definitely got to do a whole other episode about it. But motherhood most definitely expanded the portals to higher consciousness for me. And that's why I help mamas do the same thing now in the Conscious Motherhood Circle. It's another program that I run. And yeah, motherhood was and so I was running a business. I got pregnant. Actually decided to quit my 9 to 5 when I think my baby, it was like November. I think he was conceived in September. I can't remember, but I must have been like 4 or 5 months pregnant. And I was like, yep, this is a good time to quit my job and do all the things. And this was all spirit led. And you got to be courageous to be an entrepreneur. You got to do ballsy stuff to be an entrepreneur. You have to take risks. And I would not be where I am today in the lovely business that I have, in the way that I am impacting lives on a daily basis with my clients, and then from my clients to their inner circles. I would not be impacting people the way that I am today had it not be for my ballsy risks that I took in life and in business. And that is most definitely all due to the connection that I have to spirit. And so here I am now playing in this world of energetics and manifestation and law of attraction and all the things. I get so woo, if you may, so up in the clouds that I forget about like my human self, to be quite frank. I go through a time of evolution where I'm beginning to be so expansive, and I'm growing at an accelerated rate. When people talk about quantum leaping, it is because you are playing in the quantum field of energetics. This is physics, this is science, okay? With a sprinkle of woo, and it's one in the same. That's why when people don't believe in spirituality, I'm like, so you don't believe in science? Because this can be quantified. This is science. It's physics, and so I'm also really passionate, and I love teaching those things too. So all that to say, I spent a lot of time in the woo realm, and I got a little ungrounded, to be quite honest. I kind of lost my tracking on Earth, to be quite frank, and it's okay. It was a learning lesson that I had to go through, because it taught me that while I am higher consciousness Julissa, who's all, respectively, like all knowing. And when you can connect inward, you really are all knowing. Like there's nothing that is out of reach. There's nothing that we don't know, that we can't figure out within. Like it's all there for us. We're such capable and expansive souls in human bodies that truly are all knowing. So anyway, I won't go on a tangent off of that, but it taught me that while I was this person, this spirit and soul, because we all are, it's just a matter of us knowing it, um, I'm also a human living life here on earth. And I kind of forgot about that for some time. And that led me to stop doing the things that really served me at one time. And it was a hard learning lesson, but I had to relearn. This sounds so silly, but it's true. I had to relearn what it was like to be human and be fully grounded, and all the things. And so, you know, there was a time where I was relying only on my spiritual gifts to serve people in my practice. And I'm not saying that it wasn't right. I still helped people substantially at that time. Like, so I still served so many people during that time. Um, but I realized that I could be doing so much more when I combined the powerful being of my human being with my spiritual being. And so that's how I run my practice today. Now, being fully in the spiritual realm, honoring my gifts of being claircognizant and clairvoyance, I can see things very clearly. I have visions. I receive quote unquote downloads very clearly, in my, let's for example purposes, like when working with a one-to-one client, I can very much feel their past trauma, but I'm not affected by it where like I'm getting traumatized. I can see like, oh, you've been abused in your past in X way, shape, or form. And that knowingness, that spiritual gift that is within inside of me, allows me to collapse time and quantum leap my clients because we don't have to talk about all the things of your past because I already know. I can feel it. And so the traditional talk therapy route where it's like, let me collect your background data. And there's nothing wrong with this. Let me collect your background data and let me find out more about you and let me have you tell your story all over again. We do talk in our sessions, but it's with the knowingness that I already have. And I'm asking inquisitive questions to my clients so that they can understand and better heal and look inward for their own healing journey. But I feel all the things, and I'm very knowledgeable in our one-to-one sessions together. So I'm able to combine that spiritual knowingness, my spiritual gifts, with grounded techniques of up and coming science that I love. I love to be a student of psychology. So I am still getting my certifications and new trainings to learn. What I'm really into right now is somatics. Really healing the body to then be able to better have cohesive cognitive conversations in talk therapy. We have to release what's being trapped in the body that our mind cannot always cognitively understand what's happening. And so, getting my certifications there and taking classes there and taking courses there, it only makes me feel more powerful about my spiritual gifts. It's like, oh, okay, I know the human realm of new and up and coming science of what's happening here. And my all expansive, ever knowing soul is also still bomb and still potent as ever. And she's also coming into these sessions with us. And so, yeah, it took a lot for me to I began in the clinical side of things where it was straight science, and if there wasn't, uh, if it wasn't science-based evidence, I didn't want to hear about it, right? To, oh my God, what is this spiritual world that I've just become a part of? Holy crap! To like literally losing myself, literally being so up in the clouds, and in the quantum realm, to then having a beautiful balance, and that's where we are today, and it's a great place to be. And it's not that it's funny because not funny, it's wholesome because Julissa in all those different stages was still a magnificent helper, a magnificent healer, even though she was going through her own inner learnings and expansiveness and trials of error, to be quite honest. She was still a phenomenal healer doing phenomenal work for people. It's just that now I've up leveled, right? As we all do throughout our course of professions, whatever it is that we do. And so I'm simply now bringing more to the table. That's just what it is. And it feels great to be here. So, I wanted to record this episode because I don't. If anyone is struggling, I tend to attract a lot of people who are spiritual curious and they maybe need affirmation of like, yeah, yeah, you're doing a thing. Or in my motherhood program, I help a lot of mamas who have no idea that they're spiritual. And by the way, everyone is spiritual. It's just a matter of you tapping in, but have no idea how potent and powerful they are as mamas and kind of like amazing them of how indeed intuitive they really are within their spiritual gifts. It's a beautiful thing to witness, to help seek it out of others, and God, people just like be crawling to me with like all these spiritual confusions and intentions and strangers, people that I know, friends, family, like they're always texting me like, "Hey, this thing happened to me. Can you explain what that is for me?" And it took me a long time to even honor that of my spiritual beingness, of like people look to me as this wise spiritual being that can help them maneuver through their sometimes scary spiritual encounters or new spiritual encounters are like, is this real? Can you tell me more about this? Um, and it's funny because to be honest, The amount of studies that I've done for psychology and the mind and all the things compared to the dabbling that I have done in my human form, learning and reading about spirituality, all of my knowledge and knowingness simply comes from within. I've, recently received confirmation, affirmation that I was like a village wise woman that was very much in tune with her spiritual gifts and just a master at spirituality, which is why in this lifetime that I'm here today, I know so much about spirituality without my human self having to do all the reading and all the things of that sort. And being confident to lead in spiritual practices with my clients without needing all the certifications, and still keeping it ethical. So I, I'm sharing because I'm in a place in my life where I'm really comfortable sharing these things now because, again, the success of the impact that I've had on people's lives and my expansiveness within my own personal journey, um, with me and my children, me and my husband, we're all hella spiritual. It's so funny. I love it. We're all hella spiritual. Um, my babies are most definitely healers. My husband is tapped in and he doesn't even utilize it to the best, for fruition or to the best ability. I get so much whenever I do meditations or Reiki sessions with like work with spiritual healers are like, hey, like your husband's ancestral energy is strong, and it's like, yeah, this guy's energy is always mad strong, and he's always trying to seep into the things that I'm trying to do. His energy is so potent. And I joke, but yeah, it's there, and he doesn't even fully see it yet. Even though he does know it's pretty potent. And our children, I mean, they're us, right? And a beautiful thing about me and my husband is that we are soulmates. And like real soulmates, not that anyone else that has a lover, to each his own, you figure out what that means to you. But we've been together many lifetimes before this one, and we've been affirmed many times by several wise spiritual leaders and healers that, although we've been together many times as boyfriend and girlfriend, or maybe even through marriage in past lifetimes, this is the very, very first lifetime that we've had children. And so that's literally lifetime, centuries of love, of potent love between my husband and I being birthed into two beautiful babies that we have today. And so my children are most definitely energetically charged, most definitely in the healer realm, and most definitely here to make a huge impact on the world. And I mean, I feel lucky, honored, and blessed to be their mother. I'm so happy for my soul and Delroy's soul to have chosen each other time and time again. It shows. If anyone that knows us, we're a really, really good team. I'm so grateful for him. We have a really good, solid foundation, and I wouldn't be anywhere without him. So that too is spirituality. And so, yeah, I wanted to share because maybe this is affirming for someone who's going through similar path, or maybe it encourages someone listening to lean into their spiritual calling. I'll say this. I know without a doubt that if you are listening to this conversation and you've made it this far, you are most definitely a spiritual being because we all are, but you especially are if you're listening to this. And this is your sign to dig deeper. This is your sign to look inward. This is your sign to trust and know the power that is within your soul. And one of my favorite things to do is lead people to this so that they can lead happier lives. Because when we're connected to that extreme level of potency, it's very, very, very clear what it is that we are supposed to do in life, what our purpose, our dharma is in this lifetime. And when you can say yes confidently to your calling, it's not always so you have to be courageous. When you can say yes to your calling and know without an ounce of doubt that this is what you're supposed to be doing at this time, the how doesn't matter. It's like, oh, okay, I'm showing up. This is what I'm supposed to be doing in this lifetime, and I'm here for it, confidently, excitedly, courageously. And that's what I love doing. And when I lead people there, even though it's a little away from It might not look like the traditional route of mental health, but I'm still most definitely impacting your mental health because when you're living in alignment with your highest calling, you're happy, you're fulfilled, you're glowing, like literally radiating from the inside out, happiness within. Mental freedom, like it's pure bliss when you're in alignment like that. So, whoever's listening, you're being called to look inward. And I thank you for listening. And please, please, please leave a comment, leave a review after listening to this episode. And please let me know what stood out most to you, what resonated most. And if convos like these, if you're interested in hearing more things like this, um, yeah, highly passionate about all things mental health, spirituality, coaching, mindset coaching, and spiritual coaching. So that's me in a nutshell. Is how I got to where I am today, and or not to where I am today. It's who I am, and it's who I'm proud to be. So thank you for listening. Until next time, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.
Imagine a life where overwhelm is replaced by inner peace, where emotional instability transforms into emotional regulation, and where avoidance gives way to acceptance. Introducing one-to-one somatic elevation coaching, a transformative journey for those who are ready to transcend their current reality and embrace their true potential. I will help you heal those inner wounds that have been holding you back for so long. You'll gain the tool to embrace a new understanding of yourself, unlocking the power to create mental freedom. Life's magic is waiting for you once you elevate your inner work. As you shed the weight of unhealed trauma, you'll find yourself clearer, lighter, and open to the universe's whispers, a clear line of communication. Ready to step into a life of resiliency, clarity, and abundance? Visit our website, www.julisaedwards.com, to learn more and embark on a transformative journey. Break free from the chains of emotional instability and self-doubt, and embrace the pleasure of inner peace, self-love, and empowerment. Once again, that's www.julisaedwardscounseling.com. Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.